The Cold War was a period of geopolitical tension between the United States and the Soviet Union that lasted from the end of World War II in 1945 until the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. The conflict was called a Cold War because it never escalated into a direct military confrontation between the two superpowers, but it had a profound impact on global politics and the course of world history. The Cold War emerged out of the aftermath of World War II, as the Soviet Union and the United States emerged as the dominant world powers. The two nations had different political and economic systems, with the Soviet Union advocating for a socialist model of government and the United States promoting capitalism and democracy. The ideological divide between the two nations led to a series of political and military conflicts that defined the Cold War era. One of the key aspects of the Cold War was the arms race, as both the United States and the Soviet Union developed increasingly advanced and deadly nuclear weapons. The fear of nuclear war was a constant threat during the Cold War, as the two nations engaged in a tense game of brinksmanship, with each side trying to outdo the other in terms of military power and influence. The Cold War had a profound impact on global politics, as many nations aligned themselves with one of the two superpowers. The United States formed alliances with Western Europe and Japan, while the Soviet Union formed alliances with Eastern Europe and China. The two superpowers engaged in a global struggle for influence, with each side attempting to spread its ideology and gain control over other nations. One of the most significant events of the Cold War was the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962, which brought the world to the brink of nuclear war. The Soviet Union had installed nuclear missiles in Cuba, just 90 miles from the United States, and President John F. Kennedy demanded that they be removed. The standoff lasted for several tense days, as both sides prepared for a potential military conflict. In the end, the Soviet Union agreed to remove the missiles, and the crisis was averted, but it underscored the dangers of the Cold War and the potential for catastrophic consequences. Another important aspect of the Cold War was the proxy wars that were fought between the United States and the Soviet Union. These conflicts were fought between third-party nations that were aligned with one of the superpowers, but they were often fought in other countries. One of the most significant proxy wars was the Vietnam War, which was fought between the United States and North Vietnam, which was supported by the Soviet Union. The war lasted for more than a decade and claimed the lives of millions of people, highlighting the devastating impact of the Cold War on people's lives. The Cold War finally came to an end in the late 1980s and early 1990s, as the Soviet Union collapsed and many Eastern European countries transitioned to democracy. The end of the Cold War marked a significant turning point in world history, as it signaled the end of the bipolar world order that had defined global politics for decades. It also led to the emergence of new geopolitical powers, such as China, and a shift in the balance of power around the world. In conclusion, the Cold War was a period of intense geopolitical tension between the United States and the Soviet Union that lasted for more than 4 decades. The conflict had a profound impact on global politics, leading to an arms race, proxy wars, and the threat of nuclear war. The end of the Cold War marked a significant turning point in world history, as it signaled the end of the bipolar world order and the emergence of new geopolitical powers. Although the Cold War is now in the past, its legacy continues to shape global politics and the course of world history.